welcome. This is the SIG release meeting, Nephio SIG release meetings for October 17th, 2022. Right. So, I just added an agenda right before this meeting. So, if anyone has anything else, that would be great too.
Could you share the screen with the agenda, maybe? Oh, there we go.
Did I not?
It took a few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, not much. Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, I'd just like to add one thing that
Go ahead.
came up in the last call, and I've been thinking about as well, is we need to start getting our project administration. Like, we need a project board or something. We need to start tracking things more. I'm thinking just the project boards on GitHub seem to work fine with issues on GitHub. I had hoped to get a TPM from here to help out with this, but I haven't yet convinced anybody or found anybody that has time. So I don't know who might be able to spend time building out our processes. I mean, I think ideally we'd get a nice, more developed sprint methodology or something, agile process going that we can actually track work and get stuff accomplished. So
right. So I mean, last time
I raised that here.
I think a couple meetings before, so that's like a month or so ago. We were talking about design proposals, and then going through the process of people converging, and then convert that into MD files and check it into to the repo. So this obviously would be the process. Some design document needs to be approved before code gets in.
Right, but I mean, we need to set up, like, we have, I think over the next 2 weeks, I'm probably going to clear my schedule and be heads down trying to figure out what the heck we're going to deliver in November, and help build it, hopefully. But going forward, and I hope to have something to share before the meeting next week, on Wednesday, although I don't know if there's time on Wednesday. Well, we have 15 minutes allocated, with sort of milestones that I see us needing to do. But what I don't have is a process for coordinating all the people who want to be involved. So I'm trying to.
You mean the next Wednesday or this coming Wednesday or next Wednesday?
This coming Wednesday. But
okay. Because next week is KubeCon, right? So.
Yeah. I don't know that meeting will happen, but no. What I'm trying to ask here is, who's going to set up our processes? Who's going to serve the role as program manager, project manager, and set up the appropriate processes for us to actually collaborate and work together? I see that as something that's part of this SIG's scope, and so that's why I'm raising it here.
Any volunteers? Tina, someone else?
I don't think it would be too hard at first. I like the idea. I mean, we just need to organize a process. We have too many tools at this point. We have Jira, we have GitHub issues, we have Etherpad, we have Google Docs, we have MD files on GitHub. And by the way, I don't even know which project the GitHub issues would be in. So I think once we just figure that out, I don't think it will be a lot of work. I'm not volunteering, by the way, but I'm encouraging people to volunteer because
me too. I'm encouraging people to volunteer.
Yeah, I see Anne is raising her hand.
Is Anne volunteering? Go ahead, Anne.
I'm tempted, but I'd like to find out more about what we're looking for before I commit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying right now it's more just like, somebody has to decide, and we'll have an Nephio. My assumption is we'll have a Nephio repository, issues to go in the Nephio repository. We'll have some project board, Kanban board or something where we manage a backlog, and we need to start telling people, instead of making comments on documents, or in addition to making comments on documents, go in and add an issue there. And then we need to set up, okay, we're going to have some sort of deliverable in, say, around November 7th or so, a week before the.
Yeah, so we need someone to propose a process, and then hopefully also pull in the tools, appropriate tools to make that process a little more efficient.
Yeah, and then part of
consumable.
say our SIG, so we have to get to a place where part of our either this meeting or a SIG automation meeting or both, we have a triage process. We're going, okay, what do we need to get done this week?
Yep.
Who's going to do it? And you know, what's the plan for? Like, are we doing 2 week sprints or whatever? 3 and what are we going to get done each sprint? And like the problem is that as a community, it's often everybody has jobs that are primary, and their community work is maybe part of their primary job, but not the focus of it for most people. And so it can become very difficult to get commitments of delivery of certain pieces at certain time, unless it's sort of like an internal, like Google can say, oh, we as Google are going to deliver XX and XX, Y, and Z by this date, but that's not how we want to drive the community in the long run. And that we want to drive the community in the long run is the SIG says we need X, Y, and Z by this and this date. And, you know, if we've got contributors who are able to make it happen, then we can do that. Like, so right now it's too siloed in each individual organization, I think, because we don't have a common place to discuss that. And we want this to be community driven development, not coordinated company driven development. You know? So that's what I'm trying to get to. I don't think it's, like Tal said, that much work. It's more just you know, going and looking at, okay, how are we doing it in, I mean, I can say how we're doing it in Kubernetes in general. Like, it's basically just people put issues in there, but sometimes it's not great the way we do it. We don't have a good triage mechanism. We've over the years defined some, and every SIG does it a little different. We just have to pick a way to do it, and then we can refine it as we go along. So I would just start with issues and project boards in GitHub and just see how far we can get. There's a Kanban function, I think, in GitHub's project boards. If you like Kanban, I don't. I'm kind of indifferent to any mechanism as long as there is one.
Yeah, it's not my background. I'm more technical, but since I have some time, I can try to take a stab at it and work with, I guess, Steven as the right person to figure this out.
Yes.
If that works, I'm okay.
Yeah. Thank you. That would be great.
Cool.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left Marvel 2 weeks ago, so I have a lot of free time now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
you
I
remain
was-
in the community then?
Yes,
I was
I
talking
am,
mute. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was stuck on mute. So what is, from the Linux Foundation perspective, do they have any standard tools for this? I know John just said what we do in Kubernetes, but I mean, for example, do they have any public access to Jira or GitHub is the way to go from a Linux Foundation perspective?
Tina, do you know? Actually, I haven't explored, but go ahead. From your RF Edge experience, is there anything from Linux
For the project
Foundations?
management, yeah.
Jira, Teachings, that kind of stuff.
There's
These
Jira,
buckets.
Garrett. Linux
Yes.
Foundation offers Jira and Garrett.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yes, they
you
do.
could use
And,
them,
Uh-huh.
or we could use GitHub.
Yeah, we had, so Linux Foundation has everything you just mentioned. And for the GRT kit, you can go to support.linuxfoundation.org and choose the project. I assume Nephio has been added as a project there. If not, contact the IT team. Yes, just for all the GR ticket, you can just choose like project the service, project support, and when inside the ticket, you can choose Nephio as a project, and it will be dedicated to the engineer of their IT team who's responsible for Nephio.
I'm talking more about for our own internal use, not for getting things out of LF. So this is would be our own Jira instance, not LF's Jira instance. I'm personally vote would vote for just going with GitHub, and we can always migrate later. This process of getting these meetings moved to Linux Foundation has been very extended and very painful. And we now are in a place where I can't schedule a meeting. I have to go through LF to schedule a meeting, and through their, people who may be busy with other things. So
they didn't give you the host account so you can schedule any meeting?
They don't have a permissions model such that
we
anybody
asked.
other than Linux Foundation employees can create committees and meetings in their tool.
Yeah, we file tickets and then they bounce back and say that they don't have something like this neither. So
okay, so maybe we can talk to Arpit. Who is I think Kurt, right?
Kirk has been our contact person. Yeah.
Yeah, Kurt's aware of this. He's raised an issue with their IT about, so that's specifically for the LFX tools, which we're now using to manage our Zoom meetings and our SIG groups. So the amount of access we have out as external people, even though we're leaders of the Nephio community, is basically none. And so it's feature requests into the LFX team to implement functionality that would allow us to have more control over our own meetings and things. But my point is, like, we don't have a lot of time. And if there's something that we're going to put on somebody else, I'm afraid that's going to, if we don't do it ourselves, it's not going to happen in a timely enough manner for us to succeed. That's my concern.
Maybe we should ask Kurt to join this meeting now, or we can have a dedicated meeting with Kurt and ask him to give the confidential to all the leaders here. So it's simple. We just need to get the one password, which is more like a LastPass. You got the credentials safe in the software. Then you can just set up any meeting and change just the same right as Kurt. And at least the LFH, there are like more than 50 leaders. They have the same right as the administrator of the LF.
For LFX? For that
No,
tool?
it's not LFX. It's just, so the Zoom core, you need to get the host right? And
yeah, they don't give us these Zoom meetings, and maybe we were an unfortunate experiment, but they don't just give us a Zoom call. They don't just give us a Zoom account. They do everything through their tool.
They cannot give you the password, but they can give you the one pass. One pass, they save the password in the one pass. It's a password manager. Then like 50, 100 people can have it. As long as you are certified by the one password.
Would you mind reaching out to Kurt,
Yeah.
either on Slack or directly, and asking about that? Because I've had multiple conversations with him, and this hasn't come up as a possibility.
Yeah, so do I. And another thing is, John and Tao are probably going to be a guinea pig this Wednesday. Whether or not you'll be able to record a meeting on Wednesday.
It records automatically.
Oh, that's okay. Because Kirk is always on the TSC meeting, so he may initiate stuff and so on. But then you folks may not have the right to do it. So I'm
pretty sure it records automatically.
Okay. That would be great.
I hope
Yeah,
so.
so it's simple. You just tell Kurt, if we don't solve this IT issue within a week, maybe we go back to all the Google systems. But the LF system, IT system works perfectly fine for LF Edge. Like I see even the PDLs and the committers, they have this Zoom account via one password. It's called one password software. They don't see the password explicitly, but it's saved in their confidential in the software. Everybody can start the Zoom and stop the Zoom, do recording, whatever. Just the top right to operate all of these meetings.
I don't really understand why we need this much security for it, but yeah. I mean, what's the worst thing if somebody has a password for the Zoom? I don't know.
It just takes for you to get the one password. Yeah, I can tell you why, because once there was a summit of Edge Acrino, and Vincent was talking about the security of the internet, the privacy, and we got the Zoom bomb.
Okay.
Yeah, so the people just, well, if it's Google, it's more fun to hack.
It's yeah, it happened quite a bit actually during pandemics that people Zoom bomb people.
So John, coming back to your original thing, ask. I realized I was still on the other meeting, and then I was unmuting that instead of this. So your original ask is to make sure that we have some kind of organization in using GitHub issues in terms of creating a backlog and in terms of creating a release. Is that and the items?
But it's at least standardized a way so that SIG2 and others could be using that mechanisms to get something into release pipeline.
Okay.
Mhm.
Stephen, I know Anne has also expressed interest. I can also work with both of you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
All the better. Thanks.
thanks. Yeah.
Anything else, John? On that topic?
No, that sounds great. I look forward
I mean,
to.
2 volunteers is actually the best I could hope.
Yeah, absolutely, fantastic.
So update on progress is actually not that much. I'm still breaking down the PLC repos into different structures so that Sandeep at the very least can check in. I have something to check into, and then Prowl obviously is just inching along. The next thing is so we're a month away from the November demo. I know we're not depending on any out of edge hardware or anything like that. So I mean, the current proposal is it's a GKE cluster for management, and then maybe 2 VMs, one each for SMF and UPF deployments. So each of them become a very small cluster. SIG2 sort of have to decide what the demo and things looks like, but then that's pretty much all we can provide, probably at this point.
Yeah, I think we need to sort that out in SIG2. This would be a nice thing to have like on a Kanban board. But so we need to decide. So there's 2 tracks. One is what the software is going to actually do and be, and the second is how people will demonstrate that in the workshop or be able to make use of that in the workshop. And I don't think we've decided that yet. We've had a few different ideas float around. And I think the decision comes down. Well, I think eventually, yeah, what we'll need is from the SIG release group is potentially if we decide to use a cloud-based solution, we'll need some way for people to access some cloud management cluster or something, even if they don't create it. The other, if they're going to use VMs for, say, some sort of kind-based workload clusters running on a VM, then they'll need access to those VMs. SIG Release could actually just create a bunch of VMs in a cluster and just distribute the credentials to them. Like that would be the simplest way. That's one mechanism. If we decide to do it on everybody's laptops, I think the problem with the cloud-based solution is we rely on the venue having decent Wi-Fi, which is usually true these days, but not always. And then the problem with relying on people's laptops is that everybody's laptop is different, and I've never seen it work. So it's and I don't know if this is the right call to make that decision, but
no. I mean, it's just more like requirements for us. Do you want like a sort of a cloud bundle to prep for 50 people?
So I've been thinking about this. Have my own home lab here which is a mix of various technologies, but I think it might be simplest, to avoid the problem of things running on the laptop, which I agree will be a nightmare. Just have 2 clusters set up, a management cluster and a workload cluster, have everybody use the same credentials to go in, but everybody gets their own namespace. And it's just the temporary clusters just for this workshop day. Sure, everybody could potentially ruin other people's work, but it won't be a problem to instruct people, use create a namespace by your name. We can even create these in advance just to make sure.
Right.
And you can configure kubectl to use that namespace only.
Mhm.
And I think that might be best, you know, and just give everybody the same user, the same password just to log in. That will save us all the setup work, and they will just have to access remotely.
All the management cluster stuff is namespace scope, right?
That's the pieces we have now that they often have a singular namespace, like, you know, Porch system namespace, for
Yeah.
example. So
But they could use the same porch, right? Everybody could use the same porch.
probably, yeah. The question is, what do we want people to do, right? If we want people to set up the system from scratch, to see how it works, or do we just want people to run through the user story use cases? If it's the latter, then yes, we could all just use probably the same management cluster and just have different workload namespace.
The package objects would be on different namespace. That's basically it.
I'm in favor of the latter. I don't see too much value in doing a workshop on how to install Porch, for example. It's
well, it would be how to install Nephio, but yeah, I mean, you're right. There probably isn't a lot of value in that piece.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we can aim for that alternatively. You guys, we still have to talk about it on SIG2, but yeah. So I would have some idea what is needed, and I can ask the product manager.
That's easy. I mean, that's just a couple of
but we need some time to set it up.
So yeah. Oh yeah.
That's work too.
We need time to set it up and make it work. Like, and we need to obviously test out our script 1,000 times. But yeah, and we need to build the software.
Yeah.
I think the only challenge is if we want to have Multis running right on the workload cluster and show something.
So if we want to have Multis running and do that piece, then probably rather than well, what we could do is we could have separate, we could create VMs and kind clusters for individuals for workload clusters, but we'll have to try it out and see, or even just like the problem with,
worst case, everyone get like some VMs as a target.
Right, exactly. Worst case, everybody gets a VM that they can run a kind cluster on, and we pre-provision it for everybody and give out credentials for it. Because having a single cluster means we need one that can scale, which then it's like, okay, easiest way to do that is with GKE, but then it doesn't support Multis, and it's just a hassle. So
okay, so let's converge on that, I guess, between SIG2 and SIG3.
Also, let's consider the number of people who may show up. I don't know, 50
is what we have in terms of physical room.
And then I'm pretty sure it'll be more. And is this available virtually too?
It's live, right? I think.
That's a good. Is there a virtual registration? I don't know. I think we said we would.
It's live stream.
100 pieces, 100 people capacity or something. We'll have to sort that out. Yeah. Like really soon.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that the ONE is in person only.
Oh, is it in person only?
I'm asking because I tried to register for it and I looked for the virtual and I didn't see any.
Yeah, so OENS is not. I guess Camden wants to live stream the Nephio event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can live stream, but those people don't have to have access to the workshop.
So they don't have to like register through Linux Foundation either. So it's basically more like an invite.
Yeah, I think this is the in person. It's open to everybody to join, right?
You have so if you want to join physically, you have to register for the ONS event. It's a co-hosting event, so you have to pay for the ONS event before actually getting into the Nephio development.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an individual contributor option, attendee option, and then you can add the Nephio workday to that packet.
Okay. Oh, okay. Did not know that. That's great.
And if we do that, I don't think there's an option for virtual attendee to just go to Nephio and try to participate in the workshop. So live stream is okay, but I don't think there's remote participation.
Yeah, this is only Nephio specific, unless Nephio. Yeah, that's what Kandan was saying. I don't
Yeah,
know what-
Kandan probably will set up some meetings for all of us to participate. I'm
Okay.
sure. Yeah. Okay. So we'll sort that out soon. Last thing for me, anyway. So last Thursday, for those who actually went to the TSC meetings, I did a demo, but then one of the goals is to start proposing CLDs. So that actually got me thinking: should we have some sort of CLD watchdog team in between SIG 2 and 3 in terms of conformance to Kubernetes best practice, in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So in Kubernetes, there's a set of people that are API reviewers
Mhm.
and API approvers. And they sort of safeguard that all the new CRDs added to, or not just CRDs, but built-in APIs and CRDs, primarily built-in APIs for that matter, added to Kubernetes follow those conventions.
Mhm.
I think it would be great to have, I mean, right now that's on whoever is a committer to make sure that that happens, but it would be good to have a set of people that that review APIs
Mhm.
from the perspective of one, Kubernetes API conventions, two, Nephio principles around extensibility and things like that. So I think that's a good idea. The way that's handled in Kubernetes is through owners files and through actually it's not. It's through, well, it is. There's a GitHub
Well, so
chat.
if owners files means that the CLD goes into a separate repo, and then we create owners files on.
Yeah, I said that, but
directory.
then I realized I was wrong because
Okay.
what it actually does is there's something done in Prow, and I don't know what. There's some process they have that figures out if they think a given PR needs API review, and then
I
it
see.
adds a label to it that says API review required. And once that label's there, then it needs an extra gate.
It's gated. It's gated on API reviewers.
Yes.
Voting yes. Okay.
And so I mean, we're small enough now where we don't necessarily need that level of process, but we need to move towards that at some point.
Yeah. I mean, for now, the committers will make sure that there's API reviewers to review.
But we need to like
CLDs.
document what our API principles are, you know, for
Yeah,
people
that
to
too.
be able to.
Okay. Yeah. So it's more like an idea moving. Obviously, we do need that, some sort of watchdog to make sure that CLDs are conformance. For us in released, the CLD proposed needs to be backed by something so we can test it before released. If that needs to happen, we can tweet on automated test for compliance, making sure that releasing a Nephio CLDs, it would be somewhat tested on functionality. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, we should work towards that, but I guess we're not appointing people at this point, not this early. Go ahead, on.
Stephen, and I forgot who else volunteered to help with the project management task.
Oh, Bala.
Bala.
Yeah.
Maybe the three of us can take the next 30 minutes when everybody else drop and lay out a plan.
Okay. Yeah.
That's okay.
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess
Anything
the
else
rest of us-
from anyone? Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.
Cool.
Let me stop
Thanks.
recording. Yeah, stay on the call
Bye.
if you guys want to.
Very good one.
Let me stop recording.
So we